You woke up with a headache this morning and took a pill. 2 seconds, maybe 3, headache gone. You didn't think about it again. 100,000 years ago, that same headache might have killed you. Not because headaches are deadly, but because behind that headache could be an infection, a parasite, a fever that wouldn't break, and you had absolutely nothing to fight it with. No pill, no doctor, no hospital, just pain and the hope that your body was strong enough to beat whatever was trying to kill it. For almost all of human history, getting sick was a death sentence you had to negotiate with, and yet somehow, across hundreds of thousands of years, with no laboratories, no microscopes, no understanding of germs or cells or chemistry, humans figured out how to fight back. What they built, starting from nothing, eventually became the system that keeps 8 billion people alive today. So let's go back to the beginning. Before medicine, before anyone knew what medicine even was. You're sick. You don't know why. You have no word for bacteria. You've never heard the word virus. You don't know that invisible things exist, let alone that they're inside your body right now trying to kill you. All you know is that your body hurts and your skin is burning, and people around you are dying the same way. The first response wasn't medicine. It was fear. Early humans assumed illness came from somewhere outside the physical world, a spirit, an enemy, a punishment. The first healers weren't doctors, they were shamans, people who believed and convinced everyone else that sickness was supernatural and could be fought supernaturally. Chanting, rituals, smoke, animal bones. It sounds like superstition now, but here's what's actually interesting. It worked, sometimes, not because spirits are real, but because the human body is extraordinary at healing itself when it feels safe, calm and cared for. We now call this the placebo effect, and we have clinical trials proving it's real. The shaman wasn't curing infection, but he was reducing stress, which lowers cortisol, which helps the immune system function better. He was doing something useful without knowing why it worked. That's actually how most of medicine started. But observation came next, and observation changed everything. Humans are pattern machines. We notice things, and even 50,000 years ago, someone noticed that when they chewed on a particular bark, the pain got better. When they pressed a certain leaf on a wound, it stopped festering. When they ate a specific root during fever, they sweated it out and survived. They didn't know why, they just knew it worked. In 2012, archaeologists excavating a cave in Spain found plant residue on Neanderthal teeth dating back 50,000 years. Yarrow and groundsel, plants with no nutritional value, bitter tasting, not food, but both have documented anti-inflammatory and anti-parasitic properties. These weren't humans, these were Neanderthals, and they were already self-medicating. The knowledge didn't disappear, it got passed down, mother to daughter, healer to apprentice, generation by generation. An invisible library of what works and what kills you got built entirely in human memory, long before anyone could write a single word of it down. Then came the first real leap, Egypt, around 1550 BC, a document called the Ebers Papyrus, 110 pages of medical treatments, the oldest surviving medical text ever found. It lists over 700 remedies, honey for infected wounds, willow bark for pain and fever, garlic for heart conditions and parasites. Here's what's remarkable about that list. Honey actually does kill bacteria. Willow bark contains salicin, which is what aspirin is made from. Garlic contains allicin, which has real antimicrobial properties. Thousands of years before germ theory, before chemistry, before anyone had any scientific framework at all, they had accidentally discovered things that actually work. They got there by watching, by trying, by keeping track of who lived and who didn't. Then Greece, around 400 BC. A man named Hippocrates did something that had never been done before. He separated medicine from religion entirely. He said, out loud, in writing, that disease was not punishment from the gods. It had physical causes. It could be studied. It could be understood. He was wrong about almost everything specific. He thought the body ran on 4 fluids: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, black bile, and that illness was just those fluids getting out of balance. He prescribed rest, diet and fresh air. He had no idea what a cell was, but the framework, the idea that illness is natural, not supernatural, and that a human mind can figure it out, that was everything. That single shift in thinking is what eventually produced every hospital, every vaccine, Every surgery that's ever saved a life. Hippocrates didn't cure disease. He aimed humanity at the right target. For the next 1,500 years, progress crawled. The Roman Empire built aqueducts and sewage systems, not because they understood germ theory, but because clean water and waste removal, whatever the reason, made their cities healthier. They figured out quarantine during plague outbreaks. Not scientifically, practically. People near the sick died. People who stayed away didn't, so they made rules. Islamic scholars in the 9th and 10th centuries did something Europe hadn't managed. They translated every Greek and Roman medical text they could find, preserved them, and then improved on them. Ibn Sina, a Persian physician, wrote a medical encyclopedia in 1025 AD that became the standard medical textbook in Europe for 600 years. He described contagious disease spreading through water and soil. He recommended quarantine. He classified mental illness as a real condition. He was writing this in 1025. And then, 1347, the Black Death. A third of Europe died, maybe more. Cities collapsed. Entire family lines ended. Graveyards ran out of space. And medicine, all the herbs, all the philosophy, all the theory, did absolutely nothing. The plague killed doctors the same as everyone else, but the Black Death did something medicine couldn't. It broke the old system completely. When so many people die so fast, you stop accepting old answers, you start demanding new ones. The Renaissance came partly from that desperation. Suddenly, dissecting human bodies, illegal and blasphemous for centuries, started happening. Andreas Vesalius, in 1543, published the first accurate map of human anatomy. He'd cut open real bodies and drawn what was actually there, not what ancient texts said should be there. What he found didn't match the texts at all. Muscles were in the wrong place. Organs didn't look like anyone had described them. The entire foundation of medicine had been built on descriptions nobody had actually checked. He checked. Then 1628, William Harvey proved that blood circulates, that the heart is a pump, not a furnace, and that the same blood goes around and around your body rather than being constantly produced and consumed. This sounds obvious now. Nobody had confirmed it before him. Then, 1676, Antony van Leeuwenhoek put water under a lens he'd ground himself and saw things moving in it, living things, tiny, beyond tiny. He called them animalcules. We call them bacteria and protozoa. He had just discovered that an entire invisible world existed and that it was everywhere, in water, in soil, in the human mouth. Nobody connected it to disease for another 200 years. A doctor named Ignaz Semmelweis noticed something strange in a Vienna hospital. Women giving birth in wards staffed by doctors were dying at 5 times the rate of women in wards staffed by midwives. The only difference he could find was that the doctors came directly from performing autopsies. He told them to wash their hands before delivering babies. The death rate dropped to nearly 0. His colleagues rejected him, publicly humiliated him. The idea that doctors, educated, respected, professional men, could be killing patients by not washing their hands was insulting. Semmelweis was eventually committed to a mental asylum, where he died at 47, possibly from the same infection he'd spent his career trying to prevent. 14 years after his death, Louis Pasteur proved germ theory, that microorganisms cause disease, that Semmelweis had been right all along. Hand washing became standard medical practice in 1865. Thousands of people died in the gap between the proof and the acceptance. From there, the acceleration was almost violent. Joseph Lister developed antiseptic surgery in 1867. Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin in 1928 by accident because he forgot to clean a petri dish and came back to find mold killing the bacteria around it. Vaccines, insulin, chemotherapy, organ transplants, MRI machines, each one standing on the shoulders of everything that came before. The entire modern medical system, every drug, every procedure, every piece of equipment is the accumulated result of humans watching, guessing, being wrong, being humiliated for being right, dying before anyone believed them, and trying again anyway. This morning you woke up with a headache and took a pill without thinking about it. That pill exists because a Neanderthal chewed bitter bark 50,000 years ago and felt better, because an Egyptian wrote down what worked on papyrus, so it wouldn't be forgotten, because Hippocrates decided disease had causes worth finding, because Semmelweis told doctors to wash their hands and they laughed at him, and people died until finally someone listened. You didn't think about any of that. You didn't have to. That's the point. Every generation of humans took the unbearable problem in front of them, pain, plague, infection, ignorance, and moved it far enough forward that the next generation didn't have to start from the same place. The headache is gone. You went on with your day. Somewhere, someone is working right now on the disease that will kill millions 30 years from now. They'll probably be ignored for years. Some of them won't live to see themselves proven right. And eventually their work will become a pill someone takes without thinking about it. That's how it's always worked. That's how it always will. If this kind of thing fascinates you, hit subscribe.